Leonardo DiCaprio has sparked controversy online after pictures surfaced of him at a party with 19-year-old Israeli model Eden Polani. This is not the first time social media users have taken notice of DiCaprio's penchant for dating younger women, particularly those no older than 25. Some have compared the 29-year age gap difference between DiCaprio and his latest muse to the same gap between Pedro Pascal and his co-star Bella Ramsey on HBO's The Last of Us. Except in HBO's post-apocalyptic world, Pascal's character is more of a father figure to Ramsey's role.
Conservative podcaster Ben Shapiro took note of the controversy and tweeted, "Today I learned that Leonardo DiCaprio dating a 19-year-old adult woman is the height of moral evil, mostly from the same people who believe a 4-year-old can consent to gender change." So this discourse kind of always goes on whenever Leo has a new girlfriend, because he tends to date women who are younger than 25.
Oh, not tends to.
Exclusively dates.
There's a chart that people have put together charting his girlfriends over years.
And for some reason, people are really offended by this.
And as they get older and closer to 25, they always break up at the same age.
Nobody's being forced to date Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't care. I don't see what the issue is.
Yeah, what's so interesting is that, so it's obviously not illegal. No one's charging him with any criminal wrongdoing. There's no moral wrongdoing here. But people
the tone of the coverage is that this is pretty close to a moral wrongdoing.
Well, people expressing their opinion on Twitter that it's weird that this guy has never once in his entire life apparently dated someone over the age of 25, especially now that he's almost 50 years old, is getting an incredible amount of pushback from people like Ben Shapiro, which to me it's like sleeping dogs lie. Of course, people are going to comment on an older man who not just dates some younger women, but exclusively dates women that are considerably younger than him. But Ben Shapiro, I think a lot of the counter arguments to people who are just like, yeah, that's kind of weird, are people like Ben Shapiro that says, this is apparently the height of moral evil. Like, nobody claimed it's the height of moral evil. But you are freaking out over anybody having any squishiness about this having happened.
I don't think I agree with you. The commentary on this, and in the past with the other people he's dated from places like Jezebel and Gawker and people I take to have left socialist type views, is that this is barely consensual because no one in their early 20s would be capable of consenting to be in a relationship with Leonardo DiCaprio, which is totally infantilizing to me.
Technically, in terms of the law, it is barely consensual because she's 1 year past the age of consent.
Consensual.
Technically, it's consensual. But I think that when people see, the photos of Pedro Pascal's character and Ramsey's character on the show, people have a very different reaction to the idea of whether or not they feel, this is not law, nobody's throwing anybody in jail, but whether they feel instinctively like that's appropriate. And it seems obvious to me that the reason why we kind of, as a society, accept certain partnerships is because of not the age of the woman, not the maturity level of the woman, but how sexy and sexual she looks. I think Ramsey looks like a little girl. People are weirded out by it. Leonardo DiCaprio's new girlfriend looks like a mature model. I think she is a model. And so our perceptions of what is appropriate, whatever that means, are about basically how appealing the woman, sexually appealing and adult the woman looks, which, I think is an interesting thing to think about. How are we setting these kind of standards of what we think is socially appropriate, legally appropriate? Is it really key to anything real? Because so many girls have had the experience of maturing at 12, 13 years old, seeing society interact with them with a very different way, men feeling like they have an entitlement to their bodies and to be sexual toward them because they also present as mature despite being actually illegal.
Isn't there I find this very anti-women's agency, whatever her name is, the 19-year-old, the girlfriend of Leonardo DiCaprio, to say that she's doing something wrong or she doesn't want or she can't make her own choices she's an adult woman over the age of consent, dating an older man, and she can make that choice. That's a choice. Lots of people historically have been in age mismatched relationships one way or the other. I don't care. It's just none of my business. And no one's forcing her. And to say that the coverage is putting her down for daring to do this.
I mean, that's not
Which
the
I find
coverage
very
I've seen. The coverage I've seen
infantilizing.
has been very focused
Like,
on
19-year-olds are
Leonardo
adults.
DiCaprio and his choices.
A 19-year-old can die in war. A 19-year-old can vote. A 19-year-old can take on massive amounts of debt. A 19-year-old can and to Ben Shapiro's point, which I actually don't think is wrong necessarily or crazy here, 19-year-olds and in the left view, ideally people much younger, could sign up for very invasive, barely reversible surgery.
Let's talk about that, because Ben Shapiro, I presume,
that's a valid
as
point.
a Jewish man, circumcised his child as a baby long before he could even begin to think to consent or agree to anything. Is that genital mutilation okay?
I'm not going to talk about that subject.
Okay, well, that's the way that we talk about lopping off genitals and doing irreversible surgical procedures to genitals. There's a real double standard.
I was not bringing up these things to say that that's not appropriate to let people of that age do whatever. I was bringing it up to say that I find it very discordant to say you should have those things, but a 19-year-old is just a child and can't
I'm
be
not talking about her. I'm talking about Leonardo DiCaprio's choice to consistently date people who are very young. So you said all the things that she can do. She can vote. She can go to war. Someone on the internet I saw joked that another celebrity who dates young people said, I can do this better than you hold my beer, that style of joke. And Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriend literally can't because she's too young to actually drink. So, look, you're a celebrity. There's a certain amount of chatter and scrutiny that comes about your life that's not necessarily fair, but it's the name of the game. There's a really easy thing that Leonardo DiCaprio could do to quash these rumors, which is to find somewhere on the whole planet a 28-year-old that he's sexually attracted to. Apparently, it's a tall order for him.
He doesn't have to.
He doesn't.
To anyone.
He doesn't owe that to anybody, and the public who thinks it's increasingly interesting that as the older and older you get, at no point in your life do you ever date anyone over the age of 25, are going to continue to talk about it.
It is interesting given the whole groomer discourse, conservatives being so worked up about this concept, saying everyone is grooming everyone, or accusing Democrats and the left of engaging in grooming, when actually what I see is the opposite trend, is that increasingly in progressive circles, it is considered gross or bad to have any kind of age discrepancy in the people dating.
Let's be clear, this is not any kind of age discrepancy, it's a 30-year gap. And it is a 30-year gap, not between a 30-year-old and a 60-year-old, which I think a lot of people would be much more comfortable with, but between someone who, as one person put it, is so young that COVID disrupted her high school.
What do you want me to say? My libertarian is coming out. I don't care about what choices other people make as long as it's consensual and adult, which this all is. It's none of my business.
It's none of my business either. So God bless. Look, at the end of the day, she's only going to be with Leonardo DiCaprio for maximum 6 more years before she's out on her keister and he has to find someone who's under 25. So this will resolve itself in due time.
Boy. More Rising right after this.